Was I?
Good. Erev Tov, everyone. It always falls out at the end of the count of Sfira is in the same parsha as the end of the count of the Jewish people in the Midbar. At the tour in which he lists the order of the parshios. So he says, Manu, count, the Itzru, then you have Hatzeret, then you have Shavuot. So there are two things that we are counting. We're counting the people, the age of 20 to 60, and we're counting days. And the Novi said, in Tehillim it says, Limnos Yomeinu Kein Hoda, the Novi Lavav Chochmo. You informed us that we are to count days. So we only counted 50 days. But the plain import of what David HaMelech says in Tehillim is that you have to count every day. It's not just the 50 days. And the truth of the matter is that every day is a gift. Every day is something that God has given you. So, Limnos Yomeinu, we have a halacha, so things become botel b'shishim. Let's say you have 60 liters of soup, meat soup, and a spoonful of sour cream from the Shavuos meal falls into the soup. So aside from what that may or may not do to the soup, in halachic terms, it's botel, because there's 60 times the meat soup to the one spoonful of sour cream. However, the Gemara teaches us that there are things that never become botel. And the Gemara says one of them is dover shebeminyan, something that you count. Like, for instance, an egg doesn't become botel because we buy eggs by the count, a dozen eggs. Other things we buy by the pound, by the ounce, but whatever. But something that you buy and purchase and think of only through a count does not become botel. The Chassam Sofer says a beautiful thing on that. We say it in the piyut for Ne'ilah. Shetosim dimoseinu benot choliyos. We should put our tears, God, in your bottle, Leos, that they will always be there. Where it says God counts human tears. If he counts the tears, it's a dover shebeminyan. Dover shebeminyan ain't no botel. It's never subject to the laws of bitul, never disappears. So we should count our days so that our days don't disappear. our days should become a dover shebeminyan. Sphira emphasizes that for us. Sphira, it's a separate mitzvah in our Torah. It's not just a moral message, it's a mitzvah. But the moral message remains all year, to be able to count our days. When we're young, our days pass slowly. When will I be 16 so I can drive? When will I graduate? Later on in life, it speeds up quite a bit. Before you know it, they're making a banquet for you. So the ability to count your days. So days that are full of good things, but even days that are tragic, where it's not so good. But the mere fact that we survived the day, that we're able to count it, so that itself lends itself that we can become wiser. And the same thing is counting people, as we have in the Torah. The Rebbe Shalom tells Moshe to count the Jewish people. What does he have to count the Jewish people for? Kaviyachol, heaven knows the census. We don't have an electoral college that we have to know how many belong to each tribe. What's the purpose here? So the Meforshim say that you will notice that when he is instructed to count the people, the language that's used is naso es rosh, so es rosh, which doesn't literally mean count. It means pick up their head. So the Meforshim say the message is obvious. To be counted, it gives you a certain gravitas, a certain importance. That should give you pride. The Torah demands from us pride that we are Jewish. I remember I was once by Ramesha Feinstein. There was another Jew there. And the other Jew said, regarding a certain matter that was being discussed. So he said what people say in Yiddish, "Es ist schwer zu sein a Yid." It's hard to be a Jew. And Moshe said, you're not allowed to say that. Even in jest, he said, you're not allowed to say that. Es ist nicht schwer zu sein a Yid. Es ist schwer nicht zu sein a Yid. There's a pride. And the Jewish people were always able to be built on that pride. That's what got us through the long exile. Persecuted, discriminated, poverty-stricken. We were aristocrats. Malachim b'nei malachim. No so es Rosh b'nei Gershon. Lift up their heads, Moshe. And that was the purpose of the count. Because then look who I belong to. Look what I'm part of. And it always says in the count, L'mishpachosam, L'veis avosam. Look what your family, look where you're coming from. Who were your ancestors? And that's why the count was always with the families and with the tribes, because of the fact that that established the pride in who we were. Yeah. We see that, unfortunately, there are many Jews that have no Jewish pride. You know, when the choir here for Yom Yerushalayim sang Joshua fit the Battle of Jericho, a Negro spiritual. So Rabbi is always thinking what he can do with that. So we see that when Yoshua came to fight the Battle of Jericho, the Tanakh tells us that he sees all of a sudden a stranger standing in front of him. And the stranger has a drawn sword. And Yoshua does not recognize that it's a malach, that it's an angel from heaven. And Yeshua turns to him and he asks him only one question. Doesn't ask him, who are you? How did you get in here? What do you want? He asks him, Halonu ato in litzareinu. Are you on our side? Or are you against us? It's the only question. It's the question that defines us. And we see it now played out in front of us in myriad ways. Thousands of Jews ask him, Halonu atoim l'tzoreinu. You want to be counted with us or not? And that's a serious question. In fact, that probably is a question of eternity. So in the count of the Jewish people is the pride of the Jewish people. In the count of our days is the importance of our lives. We live now in a day when these two exalted ideas come together. At the end of Shiras HaOmer and with Matan Torah, Ashreinu matov chalkeinu manoim goraleinu hayafa Yerushaseinu. My Rebbeim in the yeshiva would start every class by saying, boys, we will say it together. And we would say, Ashreinu matov chalkeinu manoim goraleinu hayafa Yerushaseinu. Then he would say, now jetzt coming in and learn it. Oh, you can sit down and learn. But if there's no pride, there's no self-worth, so knowledge is useless. In fact, knowledge could be counterproductive. So these are lessons for Matan Torah. They're lessons for every day of life. So the Rebbeinu Hashem should grant us a very good yontiv, lonu l'chal Yisrael. We should hear good news by Har Sinai. All of those that were ill and injured were repaired. Should happen in our time. We should be zoche to very, very good things. Rabbi Chananya ben Akash Omer, Otsa Kodesh Baruch Hu Zakas Israel. Lefichach Hir B'Lahem Torah Mitzvos V'Hemar. I don't know.